his wife being killed in their home in Los Angeles. You have interviewed Rob Reiner before.
Yeah, and I got to know him a little bit, and he, tremendously successful movie actor, director, son of the comedy legend Carl Reiner, and yet there was an everyman quality about him. He hung out at the same Santa Monica restaurants that everybody else did, and he was a mensch, and he spoke out and denounced the murder of Charlie Kirk and had very gracious things to say about his widow, Erica. Now, there's no secret. I sparred with him about this on the air in the first term that Rob Reiner was a very liberal Democrat who had very strong criticism of President Trump. And yet, I have to say that for the President of the United States to take this family tragedy in which both Reiner and his wife were killed and say that it's because of Trump derangement syndrome, I thought was well beneath him and beneath the office. And I think it would have been better if the president had made no comment.
Meantime, there are Trump supporters out posting criticism. Robbie Starbuck is a conservative, a supporter of the president. What happened last night to Rob Reiner and his wife was a savage butchering of two human lives. I don't care what their politics were or how they felt about Trump. No law-abiding human deserves this. We should pray for and send condolences to his loved ones and not make it political. Here's Senator John Kennedy.
I don't think the president should have commented. When the president says this kind of stuff, it detracts from his policy achievements and from his agenda.
So he's getting pushback, Guy.
As he should. There's a time and a place for politics and for trolling. A man being viciously murdered along with his wife, allegedly at the hand of their own son, is not that time or that place. And for the president to have put this out the way that he did achieves nothing and reflects poorly.
And Steph, he did put it out, and then he was asked about it and said basically the same thing publicly.
Yeah, Trump has continued to double down on his comments despite, hearing from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle who have been pretty clear in condemning the president's tone. And it is unfortunate to have the president of the United States taking a tragedy like this and inserting politics into a situation as sad as the one that led to the Reiner's death, especially after the year we've had, especially after, political violence has been such a big issue this year, whether it was the killing of the state lawmakers in Minnesota earlier this year to the killing of Charlie Kirk. This has been a conversation, so it is unfortunate, especially after a weekend of so much tragic news, that we would hear from the President of the United States and that he would decide to insert politics into this discussion.
We'll see where it goes from here.
But that's not all. We found so many examples of right-wingers, Republicans, MAGA, coming out and condemning Trump for his words on Rob Reiner. We're going to show just a few of them with you guys because there's so many. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Rob Reiner and his wife were tragically killed at the hands of their own son, who reportedly had drug addiction and other issues, and their remaining children are left in serious mourning and heartbreak. This is a family tragedy, not about politics or political enemies. Many families deal with a family member with drug addiction and mental health issues. It's incredibly difficult and should be met with empathy, especially when it ends in murder. So there's MTG schooling Trump on how to react to this moment. Here's Thomas Massie, a Republican senator. Regardless of how you felt about Rob Reiner, this is inappropriate and disrespectful discourse about a man who was brutally just murdered. I guess my elected GOP colleagues, the VP and the White House staff, will just ignore it because they're afraid. I challenge anyone to defend it. Brett Weinstein. President Trump's post about the murder of Rob Reiner is the exact opposite of leadership. The right response is to recognize that their brilliance is the flip side of something dark and immature. It's not an unusual pattern, and wisdom involves seeing both sides with eyes wide open. Tim Pool. Trump has personal reasons to be upset with Reiner, but he can do better. This was not appropriate. Rob was very gracious when Charlie was murdered. We can return that grace. And even the Hodge twins chimed in on this. Bruh, why did he post this? Shaking my head. Mike, what do you make of the backlash we're seeing here from some members of MAGA, Republicans, even the Hodge twins laying in? What do you make of all this? Could this be the final straw that broke the camel's back if it wasn't Epstein? Or do you think we're just going to see more pearl clutching from here?
Well, I definitely think it's good to be seeing backlash from the right finally over something that's like we can all agree this is something that deserves backlash. Is it the straw that broke the camel's back compared to Epstein? I hope not. I would say Epstein's, like, no offense to Rob Reiner, but like I would rank Epstein far more superior than this story, and hopefully we see more pushback on that as well from the right. But yeah, I think it's good to see Thomas Massie out there. Speaking of Epstein files, this man has been a champion. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't like her, but it's nice to see her come out against it as well. As you mentioned, there are other people on the right that are also speaking out as well. I just want to mention a quick few here. We've got the New York Republican Congressman Mike Lawler, who called Trump's words wrong and said that it was a horrible tragedy, and that there should be sympathy and compassion from everyone in our country, period. You have Stephanie Bice, a Republican congresswoman from Oklahoma, who called for prayer over politics. She was saying we should be lifting the family up in prayer and not making this about politics. You even have Douglas Wilson, who's a Christian nationalist extremist who has close ties to the Trump administration, who called it grotesque. So I would say there's a wide range of people coming out against this, but at the same time, there's somehow still loyalists like Laura Loomer coming out and being disgustingly in favor of it, doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on this very, as Douglas Wilson put it, grotesque rhetoric. Because at the end of the day, the right demanded decency after Charlie Kirk's murder. You can't make fun of it. You can't downplay it. You have to admit that this was a tragedy, and that it's not just Charlie Kirk. This is for all of us, So they set the standard, they set the bar, and a lot of them aren't holding to it. But for what it's worth, it is good to see some of them coming out against it. I have some close MAGA friends that are very into MAGA, and even they were repulsed by what Trump said as well.
Let's not forget that we know of at least hundreds of cases of people getting fired over their comments of Charlie Kirk, and including the police officer who was arrested and jailed for, I think, a day or two over just a Facebook comment he made quoting Charlie Kirk himself. I mean, he literally just posted Charlie Kirk's own words, and he was arrested for that. And we saw the right cheering that whole arrest ordeal on. Not to mention all the firings and the layoffs that were ensued.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel,
a whole bunch of others. Yeah. So the hypocrisy is just, it's very blatant at this point. But it is nice to see some of these that we've mentioned, including hopefully more that come out, do condemn Trump's words. I think that's a good sign overall to show that, hey, maybe they've been in a cult, but maybe they're starting to see, that, they can at least draw a line at some point, which is refreshing to see. Now, of course, this isn't the majority of the base. This isn't the majority of Trump supporters. It's just a handful that we've picked and to show you guys that we've seen the most prominent ones of. But hopefully they can sort of lead a charge and we can see more people be more human about this, more human, because what happened was an absolute tragedy. Just to recap, I mean, this guy and his wife were stabbed by their own kid. Like, I don't want to get into grading like how bad tragedies are, but this is pretty up there as far as how bad it can get. And no one should be making any kinds of insensitive remarks about any death, let alone something as tragic and public as this. And Trump just couldn't keep his orange hands off of it. And we got what we got. And now he's getting the blowback that he's getting. And it's well deserved, in my opinion.
I fully agree. And just to highlight the stark contrast, I understand, look, Trump doesn't like the guy, whatever, but you don't have to insinuate that this was caused, like his death was caused by his politics or this TDS or whatever, is just asinine. That's crazy. Imagine if Obama or anybody came out and said that, oh, well, Charlie Kirk was, killed because he has Obama derangement syndrome or something like that. It's insane. But the big difference there between Charlie Kirk and Rob Reiner is Charlie Kirk is a political commentator. So for him to be killed for his politics makes a lot of sense. Whereas Rob Reiner, sure, he's a political activist to a certain extent, but he's primarily a director. Like, politics isn't his life. So, and it came from his own son. So clearly there was other motives at play. I'm not going to sit here and speculate on specifics, but I do just want to kind of go back and highlight Trump's response is, inexcusable. But I want to quickly read you Joe Biden's response to Rob Reiner's death on X. He wrote, "Jill and I send our deepest condolences to everyone whose lives were touched by Rob Reiner and Michelle Stinger Reiner's extraordinary contributions. We take solace in knowing their work will live on for generations to come." Whether you like the guy, whether you dislike the guy, like, that's at least something respectful to say. It acknowledges the tragedy. It acknowledges, like, hey, this guy did stuff, he had accomplishments. But even if you don't like his accomplishments, whatever, there's a million ways that this cat could have been skinned. But for Trump to just jump down the throat and go straight for, oh, well, he probably drove his son crazy talking about me. It makes no sense. It's purely narcissistic to make it all about you when this is about a tragedy.